Hi, my name's Tony Mullin from a social enterprise called Your Backyard, and I'm doing this video to support a funding application that we're putting together in search of some funding for our new community gym and activity space housed inside a healthy living cafe in Bromley, West Yorkshire. That's where we're based. We've been around for 13 years now, set up by myself and a couple of colleagues who worked in the community development and regeneration sector for all our careers. Set up Your Backyard. At the time, we just had a financial crash. There'd been new government to come in. There's a lot less opportunity for funding for our type of work. So we created Your Backyard as a kind of vehicle to carry on what we were doing. And what we were doing was trying in a small but hopefully meaningful and significant way to address the inequalities around community facilities and services and activities, particularly in the north of England and in the more deprived parts. And that's what we were doing. And why we were doing that? We're doing that because we'd, I think quite rightly, drawing on the research that was around, realised that people in poorer areas had far poorer access to the likes of good parks and gyms and libraries and youth services and community spaces and community centres, and those problems, those inequalities were getting worse as we entered a time of austerity, when the poorer areas kind of lost out relative to the more affluent ones. So that was the kind of rationale behind what we were doing. And yeah, we started off 13 years ago. Spent a lot of time working initially, particularly around helping communities improve their community facilities, doing business plans for community centres and village halls and sports facilities. And then in the last few years, we moved increasingly into kind of health and well-being. A couple of reasons for that. One, there was kind of probably more funding opportunities there. Also, it's always been a passion of mine. I've always loved, sport, being a keen footballer and cricketer and tennis player. I always loved the outdoors. So being able to sort of combine that love with work, that was a big attraction. So we kind of moved more into that. And we were doing stuff around getting people active, whether that's structured exercise, just getting people moving more. I'm doing a lot of work with primary schools and a lot of work with older adults. Along came COVID, and that was the end of the work with primary schools for a while. So in the last few years, we've focused on older adults and getting them more active. Again, the reasons for that is that lack of inactivity is a massive problem, not just for older adults, but across all generations. I think the fact is that there's, according to recent research, more than 1/3 of adults generally don't meet the required kind of exercise and activity requirements or needs. And when you look at the need to do strength exercises, that figure falls to below 10%. So what should you be doing as an active adult? Doing enough exercise to keep them healthy and fit. You should be doing, according to the NHS guidelines, up to 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity, and you should be doing strength training as well. So doing some cardio work, but also doing strength training, i.e. targeting all your major muscle groups in a kind of structured way at least twice a week. And the need for that is increasingly important as you get older. Peak vitality is 30. By the age of 45, that kind of decline is really accelerating. We're losing 1% muscle mass, 1% muscle strength, 1% cardio vascular effectiveness, 1% muscle bone strength generally every year from the age of 30, and it really picks up pace after 45. So it's really important. And if you don't do it, then the result is that the chances are you're going to become less independent, and less able to function. The problem with that is that the people are living longer now. People are living, which is great, till life expectancy 87, 88. But healthy living is is the problem. People living longer, but not necessarily living longer, healthier. And a couple of facts to back that up. Over 23% of those over 50s, this is in Leeds, where we're based, are active. And over half of those over 50 in Leeds are living with at least not one but two chronic conditions, either health conditions, either illness or disease. So we're looking at things like arthritis, obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease, osteoporosis, lower back pain. It's a common one. So yeah, at least two of those conditions for half the people over 50 in Leeds. And a big reason for why that's happening is people are not exercising enough and they're not doing the strength training. So it's really, really important. So we've been doing quite a lot of this now over the last few years. As I say, we built up a pool of instructors and coaches. The kinds of things we've been doing, we've done, we do a lot of face-to-face exercise classes for groups of older adults, sometimes just groups that were meeting up for social reasons. Sometimes we're meeting up as they'd suffered some kind of health issue, a cardiac arrest maybe, or a stroke, and they were rehabilitating. And we'd go out to those groups and we'd do sessions for them, like standing yoga, seated yoga. We did Pilates, meditation. I do a bit of walking football with them. What else did we do? Tai Chi was another popular one that we did. And then, as I said before, COVID hit. That was the end of the face-to-face for a time, so we're going to switch to do it online. So now we do a lot of it. We do online exercise classes designed specifically for older adults and beginners with budgets. We don't kind of rule out anyone. And we do all those Pilates, Tai Chi, strength, conditioning, with some funding from Sport England. We're able to do those at the moment for free. And we get good attendance. We get good attendance at all our sessions. We have a walking football team. We have a walking netball team. But I always think we could get so many more. For every one person that comes through the door, really benefits, really enjoys it, we could get another 50, who would benefit at least in the Leeds, West Leeds, area, or beyond when you're thinking about kind of online when geography doesn't matter. But how do we get to those people? They're hard to reach, they're rarely heard, the people who are disconnected, who are isolated, lacking in self-confidence, all kinds of reasons they don't engage. And they really need to be getting active and doing things that would be are fun as well. I think because there's a really big social side to what we do. The cup of tea, and a bit of a cliche, but it's true, as many cliches are. The cup of tea or the refreshments afterwards and the chat can be just as important to well-being as the actual activity. So we thought, what could we do? So after the idea has been knocking around for 3 years now. Why don't we take on a cafe, turn it into a healthy living cafe, and combine it with an exercise and activity function as well. And then everyone that came to the cafe, once they were there, captive audience, we could tell them about all the stuff we were doing around, not just what we were doing, but what we're doing, all the exercise classes and sports teams that I mentioned before, but also what other partners are doing. Big organisations like Leeds City Council, they have loads of stuff that they do around falls prevention, for example, around smoking cessation, one-to-one support to get people to stop smoking. But who knows about those? A lot of people do, but a lot of people don't know. Once in the cafe, we can tell people about all the services that are there, and signpost them in and support them in and encourage them to go in a nice kind of, not an overbearing way. So what a great chance that would be to find people and get to people who wouldn't normally be accessing our services. So that was the idea. We're doing it with a partner called Bramley Elderly Action. They're a charity who is funded by Leeds City Council mainly to provide activities and facilities and better life chances for older adults. So very similar remit to us, but they're bigger than us. So they're going to take on the cafe, turn that into a healthy living cafe. We're going to take on the basement below. We're going to have a little office in there, and we're going to have an activity space. And in that activity space, we can do all kinds of things. It's going to be like a community gym for older adults. We wouldn't exclude anybody, but that's really what we've got in mind when we're setting it up. And once we've got that there, For example, we could have a pop round the cafe, or some of our volunteers, or we've got an engagement worker, and say, oh, we're doing an exercise class downstairs, 2:30 today or 3 o'clock or whatever. It's a taster session, it's free, you can come along, do a bit of meditation, try yoga, try Tai Chi. If you like it, you can move to our online sessions, or you could get moved down the road to Bramley Gym, where there's a fully equipped gym, and they do a whole range of exercise classes, and people could be signposted up to them, the pathway to doing something on an even bigger scale. But the starting point would be our little gym, where people felt comfortable, would be supported, and can really get into the exercise habit. So that's the idea, and we're looking for funding. We've got some funding to provide some equipment. So we're looking for an upright bike, we're looking for a treadmill, punch bag, yoga mats, a full set of weights. The strength thing's so important, and that's not a lot, but that would be enough to get people started and get them onto programs that would ensure or hope maximise their chances of living independent lives and retaining their kind of functionality. Because the benefits from exercise are absolutely huge. Cardio, strength, bone strength, stronger muscles, better conditioning, better skin tone, you sleep better, your mood's better, you socialise, your heart gets more effective, you pump more blood, more beats per minute. All of these benefits just come from exercising. The older you are and the less you've done before, the more you actually benefit. It doesn't matter whether you haven't done exercise for years and years. As soon as you start, you feel the benefit, especially from strength training. All the research shows that if you're coming from a low base, you do some strength, whether that's free weights or a bit of resistance, your body weight or resistance against the machine, then your muscles actually, not only do they stop declining, they actually grow and you get stronger. You can walk further, you can get out of your seat, all the stuff that you need, you can reach into the overhead locker. Absolutely critical. And that's what this facility would be for. Muscles, if you don't use them, then you lose them, and that's so true. Last thing I would say, and we're really, really passionate about this, hopefully this video that shows that, is that so many of the ailments that bedevil people in older life are put down, not just put down to being old and old age, and it's just not true. Even doctors, they can be bad for this. They can say things like, oh, you got a bad knee, you're 70, it's just an inevitable part of aging, and here's a pill, go away and make the most of it. That's not an inevitable part of aging. Dr. Lazarus, he knows probably better than I do. What's his title? Professor at the Centre for Human and Applied Physiological Sciences, King's College, London, aged 85, knows what he's talking about. He's lived what he's been preaching in his book, The Lazarus Strategy. Great name for a book, great name for a person doing this kind of stuff, where he preaches, and so don't miss anything, shows us how this is his blurb. The decision of aging is in our hands. Simple lifestyle changes that we need to make from age 50 in relation to exercise that can help us live active, productive, medication-free and independent lives. And if we make the right choices in terms of exercise and activity and movement, then that's what we can hope to have well into our later life. And as the NHS moves from a model, of kind of treatment to prevention, and this is absolutely part of that zeitgeist. Last point. So what we're aiming to do here, there's a nice little anecdote that the Centre for Aging Better, which is a research think tank for older adults based in London, they did some work in Leeds, and they said that it's like getting on a bus and you lose 10 years of your life. You get on the bus at Wetherby, where the average life expectancy is 85. You travel 10 miles across the city to Hare Hills, the least affluent part of Leeds, and the average life expectancy is 75. So you've lost 10 years, on that bus ride. What we want to do, what we want to be a part of, is doing something that, if this succeeds, then it could be replicated, rolled out, become part of a new model, if you like, of ensuring that the maximum amount of people get into this exercise and activity, and then when they get on that bus and they travel from Wetherby to Hales, they're not losing 10 years of their life. That's the aim. Thanks for listening. Cheers now.